Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 of Software Design and Development for Higher Computing Science. Lesson 1 was just a recap, so this is technically our first lesson of higher content. Today what we're going to do, we're going to jump to this 3 bullet points down here under Implementation Computational Constructs. We're going to skip the data types and structures for now. We will get to those, but today we're going to start with these top 3 bullet points, and in fact we're only really going to take a look at this third one. Now this third bullet point, you kind of need to know this before you can even understand the first two. So parameter passing and the scope of local and global variables, that relates directly to subprograms, functions and procedures. So we're going to start with that one. So let's go to Replit. Here's our old program. Let's create a new one. In Python, we'll call it Functions and Procedures. Procedures 1, because we're going to create a bunch of these. Excellent, it finally created. So we're going to close the files for now, move this along. We need more space for code. Now this program, I'm just going to write a couple of comments. This program is going to ask the user for 2 numbers. The first must be between 1 and 100. The second must be between 1 and 10. Then display the answer to num1 to the power of num2. Sounds pretty easy, right? Well, if we were to write this like a National 5 program, what we'd say is num1 equals int input, enter a number between 1 and 100. And then we'd say while num1 is less than 1 or num2 is greater than 100, num1 equals int input, try again, must be between 1 and 100. That's the first number. Then you would get a second number, num2 equals, now you can see this is going to be very repetitive, so what I'll do instead is I'll copy this and paste this. Now because this is my code that I wrote, I'm happy to copy and paste that. I'm going to change this to 10 and change num2, oh no, hang on, I've already made a mistake. That should be num1. And num2 here, and that should be 1 and 10. Okay, so we're getting num1, making sure it's between 1 and 100. If it's not, we keep asking them to try again. Then we do the same for num2, but between 1 and 100 for num1, 1 and 10 for num2. Okay, looking pretty good. Then what we do is we print num1 to the power of num2. Okay, let's see if it works. Enter a number between 1 and 100. If I say 900, it should say try again. If I say -4, it should say try again. If I say 4, that's good. 1 between 1 and 10. If I say 12, oh, hang on. Why did that not work? Oh, damn it. I missed a little bit. I forgot to fix that bit. Okay, let's try again. So we've got 4 to the power of 12. Now it's fixed. So we'll do 4 to the power of 3, which is 64. Okay, so why am I showing you this? Well, it shows that doing similar things can cause problems, especially when you start to copy and paste. You might make mistakes. I mean, I didn't even copy and paste this, but I made a mistake here, and then I copied and pasted, and I tried fixing all the bits, and I made a small mistake there. Now, it's not a big problem for this type of program, one that's so small, it's only dealing with 2 inputs, 1 process, and we're outputting the result of that process. Not a big deal, but if this was a big program, let's say we were working for Microsoft, for example, working on Windows 11, and we did a little copy and paste of some code, that could result in major problems. I mean, you've got millions of lines of code, and you might be using similar code thousands upon thousands of times. So the more you repeat things, the more chance there is of you making a mistake, and it makes it more difficult to find that error. So what we can do instead is we can use a thing called a user-defined function. Now you've got functions and procedures. Sometimes those words are used interchangeably, but I will clarify for the SQA, in an exam or in a coursework, a function returns a value and a procedure does not return a value. Now that's obviously going to make more sense once you get to know what they are, so let's take a look. Well, as you know, in Python there are these things called predefined functions, such as, let's say I've got a number and it's this. Well, there's a predefined function called round, and we can round the number to a certain number of decimal places, and that will work, right? So this predefined function takes in 2 values, and it returns a result. It provides a result based on what you give it. Well, we can define our own functions. Let me get rid of this, and let me show you how. Now, to define a function, you have to start with the word def for define. Then you give your function's name. Let's just call it get number. And then we open and close brackets and do a colon. Now, this is a function that takes in no parameters, no values. Remember the round function took in, if I say round, it takes in two values, num and then the number of decimal places. In our previous example, I could have typed in a decimal number here. So this takes in two values separated by a comma. Well, this one takes in no values. And some functions take in no values, that's fine. But I'm later going to change this. I am going to change it so it will take in some values. But for now, let's assume it takes no values. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a number from the user, a whole number from the keyboard, and I'm going to say enter a number between 1 and 100. And then I'm going to say while num is less than 1 or num is greater than 100, then we ask them to try again. Now in order to get this number out of this function, we say return the num. Now this will make sense once we start using this. So how do we use this? Well, in our program, what we can do is we can say num1 equals get number. So we're asking num1 to store the result of the get number function. And what does the get number function give us? It returns a number that we got previously. Here it is. And it's been validated between 1 and 100. So this is okay, but if I try this again for num2, as you can see, it's going to get a number between 1 and 100 again. So we have saved a little bit of coding, and if we make a mistake, we only need to fix it in one place rather than in two places. But as you can tell, this is not what we wanted. We wanted the second number to be between 1 and 10. So how do we fix that? Well, let's say that instead of not taking in any parameters, no values at all, let's say we want to give it two numbers, and that's going to be the lower limit and the upper limit. Let's change that. So in these brackets, you just type in two variable names that you can make up on the spot. Doesn't matter what they are, but I'm going to call it lower and upper. And this is purely to represent the lower number that is possible and the upper number that is possible. And then instead of enter a number between 1 and 100, I'm going to say between, and then I'm going to add the string version of lower and the string version of upper. And I'm just going to copy this and replace it here. Give us a bit more room. Here we are. So what is this going to do? Oh, also, I need to fix this bit here. This is going to be when it's less than lower or greater than upper. So now we have a function that takes in two parameters, and it's going to use those parameters to show that we need a number between the lower value and the higher value. And it makes sure that it's between those numbers, and it returns the number the user selects. But when we're accessing this function, we need to give it those values. So what does the first number need to be between? It needs to be between 1 and 100, and the second number needs to be between 1 and 10. So now let's take a look at this. If we run it, enter a number between 1 and 100. So if I type in 101, that's too high. If I type -4, it's too low. If I type 4, that's fine. Second one, if I type 11, it's too high. -1's too low. If I type 3, that's fine. And it gives us the answer. So this program's almost identical to what we had before, but this time we are reusing code. This is a quick look at a function. It does take in two parameters. So this is parameter passing. It returns a value. So this makes it a function. And we're reusing this. We only need to test it once to make sure that it works, but we can reuse it over and over again. And if there is an error, it's only one place that we need to check for the error. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to you. It's a very quick introduction to functions. At higher level, you have to create what's called modular programs. A modular program is when you create a function that you can reuse. It's like a little module that can be reused over and over again. Have a practice, think of ways that you could use this, making different functions, and try making your own programs using this technique. Hope you've enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one.